Hello, Titans. Thank you for joining us today for the Price Taste Right webinar in collaboration with TitanWell. I am the program graduate assistant at Tuffy's Basic Needs. My name is Lupetinoco Liberos. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And today we are joined by a special guest who will give us a presentation, and then we will have some time at the end for a moderated Q&A. You are able to submit questions anonymously at any time in the chat to Tuffy's Basic Needs. Before we get started, I want to let you know that the webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on our Tuffy's Basic Needs website and YouTube channel. Also, we kindly ask you to please keep yourself muted throughout the duration of the presentation. And so without further ado, I will now hand it over to our guests to introduce themselves and to begin our presentation today.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Daisy Castro. I'm a graduate assistant working at TitanWell, and today I'm going to be presenting on the Price Taste Right, and I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks on how to save money. So we will go ahead and skip the pretest for the sake of time today. All right, so who we are. So we're TitanWell Pure Health Educators, and we work with our campus registered dietitian, Jimmy. And we're here to support you as you become empowered to improve your nutrition. And just a reminder that everyone has different needs, different barriers, and different goals. And we're all students too, so we're definitely here to help you, and we understand your struggles. We encounter the same challenges. So how will you tighten well? So here are some questions that you can have in mind throughout the presentation, especially when you're trying to make a change in your nutrition. So just remember that small changes do add up to big results. So some questions that you can consider are what needs to change and why. And for this question, just an example would be, for example, I would like to incorporate more fiber in my diet. So what's the best thing that could happen if I change? So maybe the best thing that could happen would be that I would have a better digestive system. What's the worst thing that could happen if I don't? So maybe if I don't, I can suffer from discomfort throughout the day and from just not having enough fiber throughout the day. And in what ways am I already able to change? So maybe for my next snack, I can have an apple, which is rich in fiber. And what steps am I willing to take? So maybe when I create my meal plan, I can incorporate more fiber-rich meals. And when I go grocery shopping, I can focus on purchasing more fiber-rich foods. So those are just examples, but you can definitely accommodate these to whatever your nutrition goals are. So what are Titans saying? So here are just some examples of what some Titans have said in the past during our pre-test and post-test. So for the first bullet point, it says, I'm a full-time student working a part-time job. Most of my time is allocated to communicating, studying, or sleeping. I hardly have time for any time to prep food. So this is a struggle that a lot of students actually face, including myself. Time is so special, you know. As college students, we sometimes have part-time jobs, even full-time jobs. We have families to take care of. So I can definitely understand the student, and we're gonna cover this throughout the presentation. Another barrier that is very common is money. So for this student, they said, the biggest barrier is having to buy my own groceries that I can afford. Most of the healthy options are $6 or more. And I can also definitely understand that. There's this like preconceived idea that healthy food is expensive. But throughout the presentation, I'm hoping to kind of change your mind on that and give you some tips on how you can afford healthy food on a budget. Another student said, I always come home late and my parents don't let me use the kitchen. And this could be the case for so many students, even if you live with roommates, maybe there's not enough kitchen space and not everyone can use it at the same time. And the last one is I've eaten the same way my whole life. I do not know how to not do it. How to do it, sorry. So this is also something that I've faced as well. My mom is Mexican, so a lot of her meals are super delicious Mexican meals, but oftentimes they're not the most nutritious. So there's definitely a way that you can find that balance of incorporating those meals, but also more nutritious meals as well. All right, so were to be here during the live presentation, I would have you log into menti.com and you would put in this code and answer this question. And the question is, what's the biggest challenge you face to balance nutrition? A lot of students say time, money, like we have discussed, and we will definitely be touching on those challenges throughout the presentation. Another question is, I couldn't afford to eat balanced meals. Was that often, sometimes, or never true for you in the last 12 months? So from this question, the takeaway is that everyone has different barriers and everyone is has different access to food. So definitely take that in mind. All right. The next question is, in the last 12 months, were you ever hungry but didn't eat because there wasn't enough money or food? So this is just another question for you to kind of keep in mind that everyone is in a different situation. And the last one is true or false. Food insecurity usually means skipping meals or going hungry due to lack of money. And this one is false, and I will touch more on this on our next slide. So what is food insecurity? Are pizza and ramen your go-to meals? Society tells us that these foods are a college rite of passage. I know I've definitely heard that before. A lot of college students do rely on ramen and pizza as their meals, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not only one definition for food insecurity. There's actually levels to it. So there's low food security. Also, there's also very low food security. So if you have low food security, then your food quality and variety are limited. But if you have very low food security, you are forced to skip meals since you may not have an income to purchase a meal. So just a reminder that there are different levels to food insecurity, and there's not just one set definition that fits for everyone. All right, and what percent of students in the CSU system are estimated to be food insecure? So when you're answering this, just keep in mind that it's the CSU system, not just Cal State Fullerton. So this includes all of the 28 campuses as well. So the correct percentage is 41.6%, and that is so much greater than the US general population, which is approximately 12.3%. And some groups that tend to be more affected than others include students who work long hours at their jobs, students receiving Pell Grants, first generation students, students identifying as LGBTQ+, and students of color. So what's the big deal? Why should we care about this? So food insecure students in the CSU system report symptoms such as headache, low energy, irritability, poor sleep, and trouble concentrating. I know I've definitely experienced some of these symptoms when I forget to eat breakfast or have skipped a meal, so I definitely understand. And food insecurity can make it harder to earn a degree. So students who were food insecure were more likely to report a lower GPA, dropping one or more classes, missing class more often, or even withdrawing entirely. So the art of the budget. So this is just a reminder that a nutritious eating pattern is possible with many different food budgets. So you don't need to spend lots and lots of money on a balanced, nutritious meal. And these are just kind of ideas of what, or guides, I should say, of how much you should spend per week. And it's not a set guide like, oh, you definitely need to spend this much and this much. It's just kind of to see where you fall. So a thrifty plan would be $48.90 or around there. The next one would be a low cost plan, which would be around $62.64. The next plan is a moderate cost plan, and it's about $77.52. And the last one would be a liberal plan, and it's about $98.82. And like I mentioned, you don't need to follow any of these super strictly. It's just kind of to see where you would fall. And also a fact is that the average American adult under 35 years old spends 12.5% of their take-home pay on food. And when I saw this percentage, I was extremely shocked. I didn't expect it to be that high personally, but through my own experience, I can definitely see how. it's about 12%. All right, and now we have some apps that could help you with your budgeting. So one would be Mint, and another one would be You Need a Budget. And these can be extremely useful to keep track of your spending and manage your budget, just to make sure that you're not going a little overboard and just to keep everything on track. I've definitely used Mint in the past, and it is extremely surprising when you see those numbers at times. Sometimes I feel like I would underestimate how much I was spending, but then when I would take a look at my app, I was a little surprised. Um, and then another tip would be to save your receipts. And at the end of the week, you can add them up and see if you reached your goal, or if you went overboard, or if you didn't. And another trick I also like to do is download an app called Fetch Rewards. And on there, you can actually scan your receipts and it gives you points. And at the end, you can actually redeem them for gift cards to basically any store out there. And it's just a good way to make use of receipts that you were going to throw away in the end. So that's just another app that I also recommend. Okay, so if you were to be on campus, we would be offering free lunch with our Foodjucation workshops. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we can't do that currently. But if you're an underclassman, then hopefully you'll be able to do that sometime in the fall of 2021 or sometime after that. And other resources on campus are Tuffy's Basic Needs Services. And on here we have their location on campus, which is MH143, their phone number, which is 657-278-3583, or you can contact them through email through basicneeds@fullerton.edu. And they offer services such as guest cards and donated meals, financial support and workshops, CalFresh enrollment, and Titan Bites. Titan Bites would be if we were to be more on campus. If you're not familiar with it, it is a service for where organizations, let's say they have an event and they have leftover food. So individuals who are signed up for Titan Bites would receive like a mass text. And they would be redirected to the organization so they can have some other food, and you don't really have to stay for the event as well. You can just grab your food and leave. So it's a great system, and hopefully we will be back to campus soon, so we can go ahead and take advantage of that as well. All right, now here we have a picture of the performance plate, and this is kind of derived from my plate, except we combined the fruits and vegetables section and we got rid of the dairy section. And here on the right side is an example of what a performance plate could look like. There are many variations of this, but this is just an example. So as you can see, we have a kale salad on the side, and that accounts for the green section of the plate, which is fruits and vegetables. And then in the bowl, it looks like we have some noodles, which would account for the whole grains and starch section. And it looks like we also have some additional veggies on the side on here. So that would also account for the fruits and vegetables section. And it looks like we have some tofu as well. So that would account for the lean protein purple section. So this is just an example, like I mentioned, but it is important to kind of follow this guide just to make sure that you're having that balanced meal of fruits and vegetables, grains, as well as lean protein. So meals with no wheels. So unfortunately, we are not currently on campus, but these stores do happen to be located in many other areas. So for example, the 99-cent only store is only a short walk from campus, but I know they have many other locations, and there you can find fresh produce, grains, beans, and dairy, and for all less than $1, which is a really good deal and pretty hard to find. And another tip would be to order a large meal and get a to-go container. So I know for me, sometimes I go to Chipotle and the meals do tend to be on the larger side. So I don't finish them, and I take it home, and then I like to reheat it and eat it for dinner. So that's also a great option. So that way you can kind of have like a free dinner. Yeah, definitely recommend that. Also, when you're buying a bowl style meal, so let's go back to the Chipotle. example, we can go ahead and get half brown rice and half fajitas, just so that you also have some vegetables as well. Or if you're getting poke, you can get half brown rice, half salad, or in this case as well, flame broiler. You can also do the half rice and half veggie option. And also, if you have a flame broiler near you, they do offer mini bowls for $5.15, which is a really good deal. You get your grains, you get your veggies, and you get your protein. And they have beef, chicken, and tofu if you're being plant-based. And the last tip on here would be to order an entree only and pair with fruits and veggies from home. So I know when I get a burger, sometimes I'm very tempted to get the whole meal, to get the fries and get the drink. But we would recommend actually bringing your own sides from home. So for this example, we have baby carrots and strawberries. So that way you would be saving money, but also incorporating those fruits and veggies, and it would look more like a performance plate style. Okay, now here we have a question, and it says all of the items below cost $1. Rank the items from best deal to worst deal. And here you would be able to rank them on what you think would be the best deal or worst deal. And the one that we do get very common, so it would be the two chicken thighs. So the two chicken thighs tend to be the first place, and I can definitely agree with that. There's so many things you can make with two chicken thighs. You can have one for lunch, and then you can save the other one for dinner. So I can definitely agree how that would be a great deal. A lot of people also say the Del Taco, double beef classic taco. And I can also agree that that's a great deal because it has the meat, it has the grains, it has some lettuce for the veggies. So it's definitely kind of like the whole package, and you can actually get a lot for $1. Okay, food attitudes. So, one reason a balanced eating plan seems so expensive is because we expect it to be. And, like I mentioned in the past, there's this idea that eating healthy is expensive. But here are just some examples of how eating healthy doesn't have to be that expensive. So, for example, we have here a fresh cantaloupe. So that would be around 39 cents per serving, which is really awesome. And when you buy a cantaloupe, it has actually quite a bit of serving, so it could last you for a couple of days. Also, buying baby carrots, that would be around 41 cents per serving, and you can easily take them with you for lunch or just like on the go, and maybe eat them with some hummus as well. The third option would be frozen broccoli. And frozen vegetables are also an amazing deal. Um, Sometimes I do buy a lot of broccoli and it tends to go bad, and then I'm kind of sad that I didn't use it in time. So buying frozen broccoli is definitely the better deal if you don't plan on using it all at once. And the last one we have here are fresh strawberries. So fresh strawberries would be around 80 cents or so, and those are also a great deal. But if they're not in season, I agree that they do tend to be a little more expensive. So I would definitely recommend buying those frozen as well if they're not in season. All right, so feel full foods. So we recommend adding mileage to your meals and snacks, and you can do this by pairing fiber and protein. And this combination increases satiety, which is just a bigger word for feeling fuller longer. And some plant based foods like soy and lentils both have fiber and protein, and those you can actually get them at the dollar store as well. I've seen them there, and I've actually gotten them from there before as well. And some combinations of fiber and protein that we would recommend are carrot sticks and boiled eggs for a quick snack, a cut up apple and cottage cheese. If you're looking more for plant-based options, then brown rice and cubes tofu, whole wheat toast and peanut butter. So there are many, many options out there. So just remember to try to pair fiber and protein whenever you're looking for a filling snack or filling meal. Okay, and now to save some additional tips on saving money on food. So we recommend stocking up on spices and dried herbs. and low cost produce at ethnic supermarkets. So what happens, well, this has happened to me in the past. I'm looking for some spices at maybe like a Ralph's or a Vaughn's, and they tend to be pretty pricey. And sometimes it comes down to the packaging. So sometimes they're packaged in glass containers and they really rank up the prices. Sometimes I find them to be around $5. But if you go to ethnic supermarkets, they tend to come in like a little plastic bag, and they're usually about $1 or even less. So I definitely would recommend checking ethnic supermarkets out. Also, another tip would be to um, try discount grocery stores such as Grocery Outlet, Aldi, 99 Ranch Market, because those stores tend to have the same types of foods, but just on a discount, which is really awesome. Also, if you do happen to be by campus, you can check out the Grocery Outlet by campus, and they offer a 5% discount if you show your student ID. And although 5% may not seem like a lot, um, it actually adds up in the long run. So it's something, and I would also recommend checking it out. And the last tip we have on here is try flexitarian diet. Try incorporating more plant-based proteins into your diet. So as you can see, the example we have here is a pound of um, ground beef for about $5.52 per pound versus a pound of tofu, which is $1.49, which is a very big difference. So I would recommend maybe having like 2 to 3 plant-based meals per week. That would definitely save you a lot of money. Okay, so now we have the grocery game plan. If you're anything like me, then when you're at the grocery store, sometimes you forget. You're like, did I have tomatoes? Did I have onions? And sometimes you do end up buying double. And then you get home and you're kind of like, oh no, like I already had some. And then it's more likely for them to go bad. So yeah, I definitely recommend taking inventory before going shopping. So make a list of what you need, make a list of what you already have. And it's just a great way to reduce to reduce uh, your to reduce how much you're spending, and also to avoid buying double. Also, we recommend organizing grocery lists by performance plate groups. This also helps you make sure that you're buying um, foods from every group. So here we have an example. It's the fruits, the grains and starches, the vegetables, and the protein and dairy. So just try to make sure that you're buying foods from every group. And also another tip would be, when you're grocery shopping, try to stick to the perimeter of the store, because that's where they have the fruits, the grains, the starches, the vegetables, and the protein and the dairy and all of that. And the middle lanes would be more of like the processed foods, the chips, and the sweets, which is, they're not bad, but just try to focus on prioritizing these types of food groups first. Okay, and then sometimes when you're at the grocery store and you see, in this example especially, you see a smaller yogurt and then you see a bigger yogurt, and then you're like, oh, but I'm not sure like if the bigger yogurt is a better deal or if I should just stick to the small yogurt. So this is just an example of how you can determine if the bigger one would be the better deal. So the equation is dividing total cost by the number of units. And in this case, the total cost for the bigger one would be $1.62, and the units would be 32 ounces. So once you divide that, it would be about 5 cents per ounce. And as you can see, the bigger one would be 5 cents per ounce and the smaller one would be 12 cents per ounce. So in this case, the bigger one is the better deal if you're looking for that. Um, but just a reminder that that is not always the case. So I'd always try to kind of use this formula to make sure if you are getting the better deal. And here we actually have an example of that. So we have a 5-ounce can of tuna costing $1.12, and we have a 12-ounce can of tuna, which costs $3.09. And we would ask you which has a lower unit price. So once you do the math, you can figure it out and determine that the 5-ounce can of tuna is actually cheaper. So this is just an example of how the bigger option isn't always cheaper in the long run. So it's just a good way to kind of determine and make sure. Okay, so meal prepping I know has been super popular recently, and we actually recommend collaborating with your family or your roommates whenever you're meal prepping, because that can actually cut the cost and the time as well. So maybe you can meet weekly and determine and create a meal plan for that week. Say what you want to eat, say what kind of snacks, what kind of lunch, dinner, breakfast you would like. And also, if you shop together, you can definitely split the costs. And you can also divide the cooking and the cleaning duties. I know I do that. So sometimes I cook and my partner will wash the dishes, and we kind of alternate just to make sure that it's even. And also, when you're looking for food inspiration, try to look for recipes that have minimal ingredients, equipment, and cooking methods. Because I know some of those recipes can look extremely intimidating. So try to stick to simple foods or foods that don't need a lot of equipment. Also, we recommend going for kind of like that performance plate style, just to make sure that you have a balanced meal of all fruits and veggies, protein, and grains as well. And we also recommend making a large batch so that you have enough food for the rest of the week and enough food for everyone. And if you would like more meal options or kind of like meal prepping options, you can definitely check out budgetbites.com. They have thousands of recipes and they're all pretty affordable. And they, as you can see, this one only takes about 10 minutes or so. So it's completely doable. And if you would also like um, more information on meals and meal inspiration, TitanWell does have a new program. It's called Food Education Live, and we actually have a cooking demo every week of the month. So you can definitely check that out. You can find more information on our Instagram, which is TitanWell. Okay, so throwing away food is like throwing away money. Like I mentioned, this has definitely happened to me in the past before, and it actually pains me when I have to like throw away rotten apples like we have here or rotten tomatoes. So definitely try to just buy what you need and not buy double, like I have accidentally done in the past. And another tip would be to use apps like Supercook to find recipes based on what you already have. So this app is super cool. You can actually put in all the ingredients that you do have, and then it gives you a list of all the recipes that you can make based on those ingredients. And we also recommend practicing FIFO, which stands for first in, first out. So let's say you bought some tomatoes last week, you would want to use those first before you use the tomatoes that you just bought yesterday. So that's just a way that you can also decrease the amount of food that goes bad in your fridge. And another tip would be to check out foodsafety.gov. They have a lot of tips on there. But some of them are to buy a food and fridge thermometer just to make sure that your food is out of the danger zone, which is 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So definitely try to not have any food in that danger zone, because it can actually go bad and it's just not good to eat. Okay, and here we would start with our game. So this game is basically trying to guess how much this costs. So how much would a Carl's Jr. biscuit with bacon, egg, and cheese cost? So the options are 91 cents, $1.22, $2.89, $4, and oops, sorry. I think I had to wait. It's okay. Okay, we'll just jump into the next question. So the next question would be breakfast pita with avocado and fried egg. And the options are 91 cents, $1.22, $2.89, $4.22. And because this one has avocado, you may think, oh, avocado is expensive. It could definitely be even like $6. But this one is actually homemade, which is why it tends to be cheaper. So this one would be approximately $1.22. And this could be surprising to a lot of people actually, because they see avocado and they automatically think expensive. but it just kind of goes to show how eating at home could be a little cheaper than buying food out. And here we just have another one of those questions. But I'm just gonna go ahead and skip through them for today, just to keep time in mind. But like I mentioned, the biggest takeaway is that eating at home is definitely more budget friendly, in the long run at least. Okay, so now this would be the time where you would make your own nutrition SMART goals. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So you want to make sure that your goals meet all of these requirements. And I can give you an example. Going back to my example of fiber, actually, let's say that my SMART goal would be to eat about 20 grams of fiber every week, every day this week. And that is actually very specific. I'm saying how much I want to eat. It's measurable. I'm using a number. I said 20 grams, so I can definitely measure that. It's attainable because I already kind of eat maybe around 15, but I'm looking to eat just a little more. And it's relevant because if it fits my needs and if it's my ultimate goal, and it is timely because I mentioned every day for this week. So I try to focus on goals that do meet these requirements. And it looks like that's the end of our presentation for today. So I hope you learned something, and I hope that you'll be making more budget-friendly choices in the future.
Thank you so much, Daisy. So we have one question in the chat. So apart from the stores that you shared throughout your presentation, what are some of your favorite affordable places to grocery shop?
Okay. I also like to grocery shop at Target, just because if you download their application, they have a lot of coupons on there. So it's called Target Circle, I believe. And let's say you're looking for eggs, so you can type in eggs, and a bunch of deals come up, and it lets you know like which ones are on sale. Sometimes they're like $2 off, and yes, so I think Target would also be a really nice one, just because of the coupons as well.
Well, thank you so much. Those are all the questions that we have in today. But we just want to give you a round of applause and thank you for joining us and giving us this informative presentation. Also, for anybody joining us today, don't forget to come back next week for our Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week events. We're going to be having events all week long, also in partnership with TitanWell. And our first event actually is going to be Monday, November 6th at 1 p.m., where Dr. Annalena Hope Hasberg from Cal Poly Pomona will be discussing food justice and what we can do to create a culture of care. Also, before you leave, please take a couple seconds to fill out our feedback form that will come up promptly. And thank you everybody for joining us. And once again, thank you, Daisy, for this informative presentation.
Of course. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.